fair. Let's do the deal. Do the deal. Make the deal. If you don't make deals and you just talk about it all day long, you never build wealth.
All right. Thanks for coming on.
Sure.
We've got Dave Klein, who is a legend around town here.
Yeah. Let's not tell them why. Let's just leave it there.
You wouldn't be in here if you didn't have some level of business real estate success. And you played a really important role in me getting started in real estate, just encouraging and so
I remember.
I appreciate that. And so I wanted to bring you on here and just be able to talk through your story and all that stuff. So
sure.
Why don't you give us a little background? Who were you before you started investing in real estate?
Okay. So I'm a plastic surgeon, retired now because of real estate. Earlier because of real estate, I should say. I from Ohio came down to North Carolina, and in the 90s, my practice was rocking. So just having a good time. Always had real estate books to read and think about and look at someday. And then my brother called me and said, hey, I need some money. And I said, nope, you're my brother. Not going to mix blood and money. I mean, we got to know each other as adults. He's 10 years older, so I didn't really know him until I was an adult. Anyway, long story short, we end up with about 135 apartments, doors, in three complexes. So we started with 12 and then bought the next 3 12s and then another and another. And he managed it all. I was just a silent partner. But that dipped my toe in the water, and that got me excited. I would have run them differently, but that's okay. You know, we sold them 20 years later, made a bunch of money. 1031 exchange, which I'm sure you talk about. But at any rate, so then making money there, learning a little bit about it, and then like a lot of people, you know, got turned on to bigger pockets early before it's still okay. I mean, it's good for beginners, I think. Yeah. But, you know, just learning the terms, learning the styles, learning what to do, trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And then 2007, 8, 9 happened. And I just started picking up properties, single family homes.
It's the best time for you to probably buy stuff.
Oh my gosh.
Where were you buying all these? The apartments and then the houses?
Apartments were all in Ohio, and my brother managed that. Houses here in Kannapolis and Concord. Mostly Kannapolis. My first couple were in Concord, and then most of them Kannapolis. So yeah, I mean, talk about crazy times. I signed my name for 3 of the houses. That's it.
Wow.
That was my entry price. Sign your name.
Wow.
Yeah, that will not happen probably in your lifetime or mine again.
Yeah.
So that was cool. I mean, but it was just a weird time. You know, the banks had way too many properties. They were trying to unload it. I was a good risk. I got a big salary as a plastic surgeon. They already know me. I already bank with them. I've already got a handful of houses, and that was off to the races. So,
wow.
So yeah, I've always had a management company. That was a big step for me, was after reading about it and having 20 books on my shelf and knowing that I wanted to do that just for interest to diversify my brain, because I was already, the plastic surgeon was fine. Somebody introduced me to a management company who I still use to this day. And once I had that one little bit of, they know how to do all the screening and fixing and rental agreements, and I didn't have to worry about that as long as I could trust them, I was like, okay, let's go, because I got the cash. Yeah. So let's buy.
Were you managing all of them yourself prior to that?
Never. I didn't. No. I mean, I met them and then started buying, I should say. And my brother managed everything in Ohio.
Wow.
Yeah. So a gentleman investor, if you will. It helps to have a good paying job on the side, right? I mean, but you know, I had that full-time job and 3 kids and a wife, and I put a lot of time and effort into learning the real estate and then into pursuing it. And as I'm sure you talk about with your other folks, I mean, you got to go. You got to go hard, and you got to know it, and you will make mistakes. Everybody will make mistakes. It's okay. They just can't be catastrophic.
Right.
So they got to be little mistakes at the beginning, and then you take bigger risk, and then you get burned, and you say, where's my risk profile?
Yeah.
And I think that's part of figuring that out, and then figuring out your niche.
Yeah. It's fascinating that you chose to you know, you went to Ohio State. You spent years and years in school. You opened up your own practice. Like you could have been very comfortable doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
But you chose to find this side hustle.
Yeah.
That turned into be a very profitable venture for you.
Yeah.
What would you say to somebody who's got a very stable career and is doing really well? Why would they ever consider doing something like this? Why did you
good
consider
question. For the way I'm living today, like, the day you stop working, unless you're the CEO of a major corporation, then most people don't have a golden parachute. It's 3 months severance and you're out. And, it's really true. You can earn a lot of money on your W-2, but you can build wealth through real estate. And I understood that, like, Rich Dad, Poor Dad that everybody talks about. Actually, I was thinking about what are my influential books. The Millionaire Next Door. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you ever read that. Yeah. It's a really old book, really fantastic book. The Rich Dad, Poor Dad just kind of confirmed to me, yeah, I get this. Like, it just made total sense to me. Parable, real, not, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It just made total sense. So I just needed a couple of pieces, and I had the cash. So, that's a little different than somebody that says, I don't know what I want to do, and I think I'm going to start a real estate company, right, a la you. The money was the easy part for me because I had it, but I still had to do all the same things, build that banking relationship. I think you and I discussed that early on.
Yeah.
Get that small bank relationship because they'll cut you the break once you prove yourself to them because you look good to their portfolio. You have to give them value. And once you can give them value, whoever your guy is, he's got a boss. And that guy wants to say, look, man, this is my portfolio of clients, and this guy's rock solid.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think nothing is easy. Like, this wasn't easy for me. It was easier because I didn't have to raise capital. But, back to the question of why would you do that if you have a well-paying job? It's really fun.
Yeah.
It's really fun. It's really fun when you win. It stings when you lose, but you learn. You learn about yourself. You learn about, like I knew everything about, not everything, but you know what I mean. I was an expert in plastic surgery. Real estate was new. It was a challenge. I needed something for my brain to be challenged as well. So it was fun. It was real because there's real money and real risk. So it's not just like learning how to play golf.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff, that's fun too. But, there's a payoff for this.
Yeah.
And I like that challenge.
At what point in your career, into your practice, did you start doing this? How many years in?
4.
Oh, so it was pretty early on.
Yeah.
Did you get bored that early or what?
Oh, no. That mainly because my brother pushed me.
Okay.
Right now, that was back in the .com era when you were a little kid, and the .com, everybody had money on their computer screen.
Yeah.
It was like this funny money. Your investment accounts were way up here.
Yeah.
But real estate's tangible, and I didn't like that kind of fake money because I didn't really know if it was really going to be there or not. And as it turned out, it wasn't for many people.
Yeah.
You can't control what the president of Procter & Gamble does, but you can control what your house does, or your apartment complex, or your mobile home park,
Absolutely.
Or whatever.
Were you always entrepreneurial, or was there like a noticeable event that sparked it for you?
Always.
How so?
My first job was shoveling poop in a dog kennel at age 11. I had the best bike in the neighborhood, and I liked it. I liked being able to buy my own stuff. And I always worked. I moonlighted my brains out in med school, actually, and then residency. Despite being on call every third night, I would still moonlight once a week. And then my wife could stay home with the kids. She was a teacher, and that didn't pay much, so I could moonlight 4 days a month. And she could stay home with the kids, and we had a stable parent. I wasn't stable anyway, so I was never there. Yeah. So what's one more night a week? And she was a trooper, and she handled it, and that worked. But I liked having cash, because I was making $20,000 a year as a resident, working 120 hours a week.
Yeah,
I didn't like that math, but I could bargain with the ER up the street and say, I want $50 an hour, or 60.
Yeah.
Oh, you're desperate now? I want 70. So I always had that game.
Yeah.
I always liked the game. I like the hunt.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah.
Most people, when they're trying to get into real estate or any business venture, there's common objections. Either it's they don't have the time, they don't have the money, or they don't have the knowledge. We can probably sum it up with those three. What were some limiting beliefs that you had in the beginning that held you back from potentially doing more?
To start, to actually take that first step?
To start, take that first step. 'Cause it sounds like your brother really pushed you into doing it.
Yeah, but I didn't really have to learn. I just had to trust. And so that was, but I also like to watch my own money. Even though I was sharing it with my brother, it's still your money, and nobody watches your money like you watch your money. So I still paid attention, and I was really rigid with him. And I just said, look, we're going to have it all written down. If I have something in my life, I have to get out. I want my money. I don't want to argue with you.
Yeah.
It has to be black and white. So we did all that very, very concisely. Cause you got to keep your emotions out of it, but people and money get emotional.
Yeah.
So you got to stay very black and white. And that's easy for me to do because I'm a surgeon. So I think in black and white almost always, and you're bleeding or you're not. I got to cut it out or I don't. It's my money or it's your money. Let's make no mistake of whose is what. So,
yeah. Is this phase of life like what you pictured back then when you were buying stuff?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
That's cool.
Yes. Yeah. Just like the car we were talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's pretty
cool.
Is.
It is. I mean, I'm really blessed and happy, and I worked for it. I earned it. My wife was great, helping me all the way along, and being the backbone of the family when I was working. But yeah, I would say I wanted to have a life that I could do whatever I wanted to do within reason and not sweat it. I have many of my medical colleagues are sweating retirement. They're ready to retire. They've been ready to retire. They don't retire because for their wife and them, it's $25,000 a year health insurance until they get Medicare. I didn't want to worry about that, and I didn't.
Yeah.
And I quit when I wanted to quit. And if you don't have $25,000 a year after 30 years of being in medicine, shame on you. Shouldn't have bought someone a Mercedes. Should have waited like I did.
Yeah.
Wait.
Yeah.
Wait. I put all my money, everybody else was buying Mercedes. I was putting all my money in real estate, and they're like, what is wrong with you? I go, you'll see.
That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. But you got to look down the road. You can't look today. I had plenty of money. Plastic surgeon, small town, only guy in town. Had a really successful practice, but I wanted more, partly for the mental challenge, but for today, because I knew today would come eventually, and I would eventually either not be able to do surgery or not want to do it anymore. And now I still have a stream of income that most people would be perfectly happy to make that someday in their life.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. It's fun. It's good.
Great.
Yeah. You're going to be there. No question in my mind. I've told you that. I've told you that from the beginning, and you're proving me right.
You mentioned earlier wins and losses and preventing losses. Have you taken any losses?
Sure.
Tell me about what's some of the worst ones.
The worst one was I invested in an office building that everything said it was a sure bet. I knew the plastic surgeon who was going to occupy one of the 3 floors, the full floor. And he does, his old practice still does to this day. But the guy managing the money, I didn't know him as well. And I did every bit of due diligence I could, and it was sound. And it was around that 2008, 9, 10, and he blamed it on that. But in fact, he was living a really high lifestyle on our money.
Oh, no.
So, yeah. So I lost $100,000, but one of the Carolina Panthers lost $6 million. So,
oh my gosh,
I didn't feel quite as bad as he did.
Wow.
Yeah. And the boy putting the deal together spent some time in jail for securities fraud. Yeah.
Oh gosh.
So I got duped.
How do you prevent that? Was there anything that was like a noticeable, preventable thing that could have prevented you?
You know, I believe me, I went over that many times, kicking myself in the head about that, and there really wasn't. I mean, he had bona fide track records of a lot of buildings in Huntersville and things that he had developed and built, and again, plastic surgeon's a friend of mine. He invested heavily because he was taking a third of it, and I was like, can't miss. You just have to lease up the other two.
Bummer.
But the shenanigans behind the scenes and the money is what happened.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that building is still there today. It's a very successful building. It just, I got duped by that guy.
What ended up happening? To get foreclosed on, go back to the bank? What was the?
Yeah, it all went back to the bank, and then there, all the lawsuits and all that kind of stuff. I think there was some sort of settlement that, the government stepped in, and I got $8,000 back or something.
Oh,
something, enough to buy a couple cups of coffee.
Where are you getting coffee?
Yeah, right. I mean, relatively speaking, it was just, but yeah, I mean, it's going to happen. Like, it's going to happen. So the ultimate question is, how do you stop? How do you prevent that?
Yeah.
You do your due diligence. And what does that mean? The property, the regulations, Airbnbs, that's great until that city says you can't have an Airbnb.
Yeah.
So that math works for short-term rental, but it doesn't work for long-term rental. Well, you're not going to move to Austin, Texas if you bought one there. But if they change the regulations, now what are you going to do with that house? Right. Because you paid based on
the income of the Airbnb.
The Airbnb income, which is enormously better than year-to-year rental in the right place until the city changes their rules. So but that landscape's always changing, as you well know. The landscape changes, so you just have to keep reading, listening to podcasts, talking to people. Your mastermind group, I think that's brilliant. Mm-hmm. But I mean, you can't study enough.
Yeah.
You cannot study enough. You cannot cross enough T's and dot enough I's ever. And it's always down to the math. It's black and white.
No emotions.
No.
Yeah.
That will burn you. I've seen it. You've seen it.
Mm-hmm. What was so you mentioned single family homes, apartment complexes, you even mentioned mobile home parks.
Yeah.
Give us an overview, like what's been your investment strategy and what's worked the best for you?
Pure and simple buy and hold. So I like cash flow. I don't look for appreciation, but almost always if you hold something 20, 30 years, if you hold it that long, it's got to appreciate almost surely.
Oh yeah.
Even 5 to 10 years. But I flipped one house, didn't care for it. It was, a quick 20 grand, and it didn't do anything for me emotionally or otherwise. It was a pain in my butt. Didn't like it. And I wasn't doing the remodeling. So, I mean, I'm the gentleman. I don't, actually I wasn't a gentleman for about 3 years. I'll tell you the best deal ever after I get through the strategy. But the strategy for me, buy and hold, I like single family homes. They make sense to me. I don't buy high-end single family homes. C minus doesn't scare me. B minus is great because the people that are living in the fancy homes, when the economy tanks, they're moving down. Mm-hmm. And the people that are moving down, but somebody's always going to live in the bottom one.
Yeah.
Always, always, always. So if you're above the bottom, you're going to have a renter of some sort.
Right.
The argument against it is they're not as quality renters. They trash your house. You have more turnover cost. True. But it's always rented. Mm-hmm. So for me, that has worked out well, particularly since I've seen a few dips in my life. Mm-hmm. So that's been it. And it was primarily single family homes. The apartment thing with my brother, that was great. But when I started doing it by myself, I wasn't ready to bite off that big of a chunk. I would have later. But by the time I got into that area, multifamily was skyrocketing and, everybody was moving that way. It just, the trend was too hot. And then I stumbled on the mobile home park thing. So I was all single family homes, and my management guy, the electrician we were using, his mom or grandma died, and he inherited the mobile home park. And he's like, don't want any part of it. Just give me some cash. I didn't know anything about him. Quickly read, listened as quick as I could, and I crammed as much as I could in about a week. And I was like, it sounds okay. Yeah, take a chance. Best investment I've ever made.
Really?
Completely. 100%. $200 a month per lot below rent, all tenant owned homes, meaning I have zero maintenance. I'm renting dirt, a little bit of street maintenance. The water was city water on 1 meter and I paid it. So I just sub-metered all the homes and then charged them.
Wow.
It cost me a little upfront for each sub-meter times 40. It was a 40-lot place. There were a couple missing. I infilled a couple, so I did own a couple of them. But, that was really great, and then sold it for just a ridiculous number later.
Really?
Yeah. To a guy that I knew that was in the mobile home park game, and he had called me a couple of times. And it just circled back around, and he kind of he was building, and he has investors, so he needed like a really good park in his portfolio. And I said, you're paying me a lot of money for this. He said, I know exactly what I'm paying, but it's the ideal park right now for what I need for my plan.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's your best deal ever.
Ever.
Wow. Even more than like the apartment complexes.
Oh yeah. Well, no, that's the best single deal ever. The best deal ever is really about 35 doors that I bought out of bankruptcy that no one would have lived in except a couple of the squatters that were living in some of them.
Wait, hold on. You just said that you're a gentleman.
Yeah.
And
this is for a couple of years. I actually got dirty. Yeah. A couple of years I actually got dirty.
I have to know more about this.
Yeah. So it was, again, my management company, he comes to me, he says, hey, there's this fella died. He either buried a truck or buried some car batteries or something on one of his properties. He's dead, kind of a slumlord. The government EPA came in and said, $1 million cleanup, and the family said, take the properties, gave them to the state or whomever.
Wow.
And, it was in probably at least 5 years that nobody was doing anything with these properties. There were like 2 or 3 people that my management company were actually still collecting rent from and I guess paying the bankruptcy court. And they said, we're going to auction them all. And so my guy calls me and says, hey, I might have an option for you. I said, yeah, I'll go look. Excuse me. Oh my gosh. Holes in the roof, holes in the floor, needles everywhere. I never went there without my gun ever, ever after the first time.
Yeah.
And I mean, crazy, 2-bedroom, 1 bath, brick, nice yard, $8,000.
Wow.
I painted it, cleaned it, painted it. I think there were 7 TVs in that one, as I recall. 7. It wasn't much bigger than this room. And they had 7 TVs. Yeah. But that's how crazy that deal was. So, I bought them, probably spent equal amount, finally get them all rehabbed to about 35 doors, some duplexes, mostly single family. The government came along and eminent domain over there on Rogers Lake Road where they're building the flyover for the railroad. They took a little more than a third of those doors and I got all my money back.
Oh, wow.
So I still have 2/3 of those.
Totally free and clear.
Free and clear. That essentially I've already gotten all my money back.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was a really great deal. But that's, so let's talk about that. How do you capitalize on great deals? Always do what you say.
Mm-hmm.
Back it up. If you say you're going to buy it. If you say you're going to get back to them in 2 days, get back to them in 2 days. Do not be, you don't want to be, these are for the new folks.
Yeah.
Like, be a man of your word, follow up on everything, and deliver what you say you're going to deliver. If you're going to buy it, buy it. If you're going to sell it, sell it. Don't be wishy-washy because people will stop calling you.
Oh, for sure.
You this is why you're successful. People call you and you make yes or no.
Mm-hmm.
Not all get back to you in 2 weeks. They don't have time for that.
Yeah.
Particularly if it's a broker or something. They want their answer today. They want to sell it today.
Yeah.
Give them their answer today, yes or no, or in an hour, whatever. But that's very important, I think, too, is be very clear of what you can and can't do and make sure you deliver.
So you still have those.
Yeah.
Do you still have mobile home parks?
I have one. Yeah. I bought a second in a 1031 exchange, sold the properties in Ohio with my brother. And then every one of those complexes I turned into 1031 exchanges. Bought a second mobile home park. When the government gives you a chance to save money, save it. Because they don't give us very many.
Yeah.
Yeah. They usually just want to be in our pockets. So if they're going to leave some money in your pocket, make sure you keep it there.
How has that exponentially grown, or how has that benefited your?
Pretty dramatically, actually. I mean, I don't know numbers wise, but it just, you get a bigger, better property with no cash outlay, and you didn't pay any tax on the profit you made. Mm. So it's just hard to beat that. That's one of the true, government things that is legal that really works.
I don't think you mentioned the government taking the land, but I remember when we were talking about this years ago, it's not a 1031, it's a 1033 exchange, right?
Yes. Oh, I forgot about that. Yes, indeed. Yeah. It is. Yeah. So there's a little bit of different restrictions on it. And I can't remember it now.
They give you like a longer timeline than a 1031.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. The 1031, you have to make your deal in 6 months. You have to name it early and then close in 6 months or something like that. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of pressure, particularly if it's a big project. The 1033, you have 2 years, maybe, as I recall. Do you remember?
No, but
it's long.
It sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's long. It's way longer than because they're taking. And just like when you get a traffic ticket, if you get a speeding ticket, you get all the lawyer letters. You get like 20 lawyer letters when eminent domain takes your property.
Really?
Yeah. So I just read through all the brochures, picked the one that sounded like the most sense, and because I don't want to negotiate with the government.
Yeah.
Because they'll win.
Yeah.
And I don't want to, and it's just like they'll take a third of whatever they get you. So if the government's giving you $100,000 for that house, they negotiate it to $200,000, they get 33 and a third. And you get 2/3. So you get what they were going to give you plus 2/3 of what else they can negotiate up. And they know what they know. I was irritated by that because it's like, no. If I were to sell this based on cap rate and rents and so forth and air, they go, yeah, we'll fight it for you if you want. But the government has the opportunity to say you're stuck at their original offer. Or I can probably get you here, no muss, no fuss. Take the money and run. Yeah.
So obviously there's been ups and downs, losses, wins, all of that stuff throughout the years. Mm-hmm. More wins than losses, which is good.
A couple of losses, yeah.
You've got a family. You've got a practice that's growing. It's one of the top plastic surgeon practices in the area. What are some disciplines that you had to stay on the course and not get overwhelmed or discouraged, or like how do you keep a level head dealing with all of that?
Good family first, for sure. Being able to particularly your spouse, trust your spouse, and your spouse trust you. Particularly if they're not interested or involved. Like she can't be a plastic surgeon and she wasn't interested in real estate. And like buying all the crack houses. I showed her. She's like, are you out of your mind?
Crack homes, mobile homes?
Yeah. I said, trust me, this is a diamond that's really dirty, but these are going to be gems.
Yeah.
And in fact, they are. But she trusted me. So that really helps. I think just don't get ahead of yourself, be grounded, stay healthy. I mean, we met at CrossFit and, two old guys are me and Sonny, that's it. There aren't that many old guys doing it, but I still do it as best I can. And it just is, staying physically healthy keeps you mentally healthy. And then realize that even if you get stung on that deal, there's another deal tomorrow and the next day. And that's where that due diligence of not having the catastrophic deal happen,
Mm-hmm.
and that takes time. So don't make your first project a $10 million project when you have never bought one home.
Yeah,
you can't
absolutely.
do that. Don't get involved in something that you really don't understand, because usually that means somebody's trying to take advantage of you.
Yeah.
If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Yeah, I don't know. I think it was so fun for me, just the whole topic. I mean, we used to gab for hours about that, just gabbing about it. I still will. I'm happy to be here gabbing. I mean, I'm probably burning up all your tape. I mean, I'm happy to do it because it reminds me why I was so excited about it. I mean, I haven't done a deal in years. I'm not going to. Actually, the last one was the couple of lots over in Virginia that you bought. Not interested in playing that game. I don't need any more risk. I'm set. I don't need any risk at all. But if somebody brought me a really good deal, I probably would play. Just because it's still fun. Like, talking about this makes me think, maybe I ought to talk to you after this and get back in the game. I probably won't. But I mean, if somebody brought me something and it was like interesting and fun and, reasonable risk, I probably would do it.
Yeah.
Just for the thrill of doing it, because it is fun.
Yeah.
Like, it's a cool topic. It's a fun topic. And it pays off in the end as long as you are smart about it.
How would you classify your level of risk tolerance, and how, if that has changed throughout your career?
I'd say it's always been medium, and now low risk. And towards the end, the more you have to lose, the more you want to hold on to it. And also, I think something that I've learned at 65 and retiring from plastic surgery and then like stepping back from the rat race. Life is short. That's a catchy phrase that everybody says, but doesn't really think about it. Man, I'm here to tell you it is. Because yesterday I was your age. Now I'm 65. I'm retired. You've got to have fun along the way. And that deal that goes bad, wash your hands, dry off your face and go on to the next deal, because it's not the end of the world. It's just money. Everybody needs it. Everybody has some. Everybody wants more, more or less. It's you've got, kind of dovetails into, how did you keep it all straight? Just realize it's easier to say when you have a full-time job that pays a lot of money.
Yeah.
But even if you don't, I mean, unless you're living paycheck to paycheck, which many people do in this country and the world. But if you're in this game, know that it's going to happen and be ready for it. Be ready mentally, because it will happen. Nobody's that good or that lucky.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. And just when it does, man, figure out why and don't do it again. Don't make the same mistake twice. If you do that, maybe this isn't the business for you.
Yeah. Probably.
Yeah. Yeah. Or if it befuddled you, then get a mentor, talk to someone who's been there and done that and find out, what did I do here? What did I miss?
Yeah.
And somebody will figure it out, if you can't.
Yeah. Did you have a specific dollar amount where, if I can get to this, I'm going to retire? Or did it just naturally grow into the point of you feeling comfortable to retire? Mm-hmm. Did you have like a benchmark that you were going after and accumulating assets to get you to that point, or how did that play out?
I didn't. It just sort of happened. Way back when, my father-in-law was a broker for Merrill Lynch, and he said, no matter what, maximize your retirement account every year, even when you're a resident making $20,000 a year. Somehow scrape the money together and put it in there. And I'm like, okay, I guess you know what you're doing, but I got 3 kids and I'm making $20,000 a year. Yeah. So I don't have a lot of extra right now, but he said, you're in it for the long haul. You're in it for 30 years. And I remember in the 90s, my brother, who's super smart, chemical engineering master's from Purdue. I mean, super smart, a little nerdy, but super smart. He was just like killing it in the stock market. And I called my father-in-law, hey man, my brother's a chemical engineer. He is killing it, and we're making 18%. He said, David, we're in it for the 30-year haul. We're not in it for today. And I said, okay. .com smashed. Mm-hmm. He Doesn't say a word to me. He sends me a printout, highlights, plus 2%, plus 3.8%, plus 5%, plus 1%. There was not a negative one on there.
Wow.
I never questioned him again.
In it for the long haul.
In it for the long haul. And the same, I would say the same with real estate. One, you'll have a great deal. I got a couple of great deals. That's not why I'm here today. I'm here today because I did it for 30 years.
Yeah.
And just methodically just take them down, take them down,
Yeah.
take them down.
That's one of the things that can be super discouraging, even for me, is you invest so much into building, growing, buying, and the expectation is what I was sold is you read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and you're like, man, I'm going to be freaking rich and like I'm going to be set
At 35.
at 35.
Right.
And I'm like a couple years away from that. And I mean, I can see the light at the end of the tunnel
Sure.
in a sense, but oftentimes it doesn't feel like that when I get a call that I have a new vacancy in a rental and it's going to be $5 or $6 grand to turn it over. And it's, like there's this constant ebb and flow of I'm doing good. And then no, this is the worst,
Yes.
like that is
Yes.
such an interesting dynamic that keeps you humble, keeps you, trucking right along.
It's probably good
Yeah.
that happens, but it happens in almost every business. So in plastic surgery, August is dead. September is dead. So you're kicking it all summer. Everybody's coming in for their bathing suit bodies. And then August hits and the phone absolutely stops ringing. The first few years, you're like, oh my God, I'm going to go out of business. Well, what you then learn is moms are your primary client.
Yeah.
And moms have kids going back to school and they're buying backpacks and tennis shoes and shoes. And in September, the new schedule starts for school and they don't have time.
Yeah.
And so then you just learn to take vacations in August when you're a plastic surgeon and go somewhere and have fun because there's no sense in staying home and wringing your hands because I don't know how many years it took for me to, like my girls in my office, like, Dr. Klein, calm down. It happens every August. Calm down. Stop pacing. Go back to your desk. You're not going to make the phone ring by staring at it. Please get away from my desk. But so, yeah, there's an ebb and flow in everything. And I don't know any business that is constantly on an upward trajectory.
Yeah.
So I think you just have to be ready for that.
I think the important piece we can kind of boil this all down to is you have to have delayed gratification. It like baked deep inside of you if you're going to achieve any level of success in business, real estate, investing in stocks, whatever it is, you have to have that 30-year time horizon in mind.
I would agree.
Your father-in-law was brilliant to be able to just beat that into you, no matter whatever shiny object is out there. I at least in our generation now, it's crypto and during 2020 it was NFTs and there's all these things, like people just losing their mind over these
quick hitters.
And now there's crypto meme coins that come out all the time and people are trying to get in early because they pump up and you can make a ton of money, but then whenever that rug pulls out from underneath you, it's like, it's over.
Yeah.
So there's all sorts of shiny objects out there that aren't tried and true, but it sounds like real estate has been the steady pony in the race.
Yeah, I agree. But I think that's a really good take home message is you're in it for the long haul. You should treat yourself. You should get a nicer house or a nicer car when it's reasonable to do so. You don't have to, absolutely flog yourself and never get new shoes.
Yeah.
But you don't, we were talking about some of my colleagues didn't retire from medicine because they can't afford health insurance. Well, they've had 12 new Mercedes. Okay, I didn't. I had nice cars, but I didn't buy a new car every 2 years. And as a consequence, that did not factor into my retirement decision whatsoever.
Yeah.
It's a non-factor.
Yeah.
Not that $25,000 isn't a lot of money. It is. But it's just a non-factor. Am I going to work another whole year because I can't afford an extra 25 grand? No. I'm done working. Done. I'll pay the man for my insurance. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's fascinating to hear you talk about your colleagues because plastic surgeons, doctors, all of that. Those are your colleagues.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
us sorry people don't have those kind of colleagues. But to hear that there's even poor financial practices in that income status or income bracket is shocking, because you think somebody they're making that kind of money, they've got it all figured out.
They're set.
And, making more money tends to cover up, other mistakes that you may make financially, but it sounds like they're no different.
Agreed. I agree. Yeah, you would think so, but I think what happens for a lot of people is keeping up with the Joneses. Your buddy moves to the nice neighborhood. You want to be in the nice neighborhood. Your buddy's wife just got a fancy car. You want to get your wife a fancy car, yada, yada. You got to join the country club. And it's easy to get into that. And my wife and I used to talk about it all the time to keep ourselves grounded. It's like, wow, look, everybody's moving to King's Crossing. That was the new hip neighborhood, and all the houses were expensive. And we went and we almost put a deposit on a lot. And I was like, we don't need to do that. Just because all the other doctors are moving over there and some of our other friends that aren't doctors, we have a pretty nice house. Let's just stay here. Nothing wrong with moving to King's Crossing.
Yeah.
But we didn't make that jump in mortgage to then take a step backwards we can drive to visit them in King's Crossing. It's 10 minutes. Yeah. It's okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, everybody I think tends to do that a little bit. I think I learned very early on going to medical school. So when I got out of college, all my buddies got out of college and they all went to work for IBM and whatever, and they all had BMWs, and I was literally buying $200 cars wherever I could find one on the corner, and had the next one scoped out when this one died, because they always died in a few months. And I literally bought $200 cars. I'm not kidding. Not kidding at all. A little different than the car we were talking about earlier. Yeah. But I am not kidding. It's just what we had to do, So I learned early on, it's like, you're going to be a plastic surgeon, but look at this rust bucket you're driving in Ohio. And it's okay. Yeah. Got me to work. I had that goal. I had to get through medical school, and then I had to get a residency, and I wasn't going anywhere during residency anyway. So why do I need a cool car?
Yeah. I'm gonna ask you something. I don't know if anybody's asked you this before.
Okay.
Can you hold your hand out? How stable is your? Yeah, he's probably good.
Still,
very still.
Actually, I just sewed somebody up the other day.
Did you really?
Yeah, Tiffany, who was my surgery assistant, my right-hand woman for 27 years. She just gashed her finger down to the bone. She calls me, says, "What are you doing?" I go, "Nothing." She says, "I'm going to send you a picture. I think I need stitches." I said, "Just bring it over." So I sewed her up in the kitchen.
That's awesome.
It was great. It was great.
I should have brought Hutch over to you. He got hit in the forehead with a Lego sword that the boys were sword fighting with Legos, and it broke off and hit him right here.
Right at the right time. Yeah.
Right at the right time. But we got him taken care of.
Yeah. I mean, as long as you can bring me some suture and some local, I'll be happy to do it. I just don't have any tools at home, but she works at the surgery office, so she brought it.
It's awesome.
Yeah, that was pretty fun, actually.
All right. Nobody gets to achieve any level of success without some strategic relationships, whether they be bankers. It sounds like your property manager was a big one.
Yes.
What have been some of your most strategic relationships that have gotten you to where you're at today?
Definitely the property manager. He taught me a lot, because he went and looked at every house with me, the first handful of houses I bought. Was very instrumental in teaching me what rents, what doesn't, where, what to upgrade and what not, based on the street, the neighborhood, the rental rates in that area and for that year, to not just go in and make the house like I wanted it to be, because that's what my wife and I started doing. It's like, well, can't leave that countertop. And yeah, you can, because you could put marble or granite and your rent's exactly the same, but you just lost, X number of thousand. So he was very instrumental in that. And then the banking was the next most crucial. And I always kept two banks to this day. Still have two banks to play them, to keep them honest. But my main guy came through every single time. I would always go to and I would tell them both, hey man, I'm calling them. What can you do for me? I'm your best customer. I never have missed a payment. You know what my bank account has in it. Give me some money. Give me the best rate. Give me the best terms. Well, because they don't want to do it.
Right.
They want to make money for their bank. I get it. But it's like, no, I'm buying this. You or you. Who's going to make me the best deal? And it always came down to the guy I was closest to.
Yeah.
And we became personal friends. He just retired. But we would go out to lunch regularly and just not talk about anything. Like, he was a big hunter. I'm a big fisherman. And we would just talk about hunting and fishing and whatever. But that relationship really helped, particularly if something got a little dicey or a little tight, like I need it now. He would make it happen for me.
Wow.
Rather than calling banker ABC and saying, hey, I got this deal and everything fits, but I need it tomorrow. Yeah. They'd be like, yeah, well, go somewhere else, because they're not as urgent as we are.
Right.
But he understood my urgency, and he knew me, and I'm type A and wired, and so. Yeah.
All right. Looking back on your career, how has real estate changed your life?
Immeasurably. Financially, immeasurably. Yeah. I mean, I don't worry about anything.
There you have it.
I don't.
That's great.
I'm trying not to sound like an idiot here, and I'm not bragging. I'm so comfortable. I have a steady stream of income. I have assets and all the other stuff I earned from my plastic surgery and being reasonably fiscally frugal, not frugal, but fiscally responsible, my wife and my family and I. So I think in the 30-year long run from when my father-in-law taught me, put the money in there and just leave it alone and let it grow. I kept waiting for that compounding to happen, and it just stayed right here. And then it went like this.
Oh, wow.
When it reaches whatever critical mass it is, and I don't know exactly where that is, but it literally just happened in the last 5 years for me. It was like, man, when is this going to grow? Come on, man. What is this compounding stuff? I've been in this for 20 years. Just be patient. And it just
took off.
Goes vertical. So that, and we've been in a crazy boom market for a ridiculously long time. There should have been a correction when it went to 7% interest rates without question. Yeah. If that didn't do it, I don't know what's going to do it. Yeah. I mean, if you understand, explain it to me, because I don't understand it. But I'm still riding it. Yeah, I'm not actively investing, but I'm still riding that continued growth in my portfolio of increased rents and increased value. It doesn't make any sense. Mathematically, historically, none of it makes sense. I've tried to figure it out. I can't. Nobody else seems to. Anything I read, one article says this, the other article says that. Nobody really knows. But there, I've got to believe there's got to be a correction on the horizon there. Yeah. For whatever reason. Yeah. It doesn't matter. But
when it was at that same trajectory for years, you said that was 20 years. Were you still optimistic that it was going to give you the retirement that you wanted?
Yes. I just trusted that it would work. But the real estate sped it up dramatically. But knock them down one at a time. 1 leads to 2, 2 leads to 4, 4 leads to 8. Then somebody brings you a 35-door deal for pennies on the dollar. Boom. Now I'm at 48. Yeah. And then.
It just snowballs.
Yeah. Yeah. Right place at the right time. Try to be honest. No, not try to be honest. Be honest. Try to be reasonable. Try to always realize somebody else is on the other side of that deal. It's not about grinding them into the ground. You've learned that. Yeah. It's about making everybody walk away a little happy and a little frustrated. You didn't get everything you wanted out of the deal, but it's pretty good.
Yeah.
And they didn't get everything they wanted out of the deal, but it's pretty good.
Compromise.
And if everybody can walk away, what's the negotiation book? Never meet in the middle.
Never split the difference.
Never split the difference. Yeah. To a certain extent, right? I mean, you got to play hard to get the best out of it.
Yeah.
But never forget they're playing just as hard as you are. They may have read that book as well. And so at some point you just got to say, hey man, this is a pretty good deal. This is fair. I don't need to kill it. I killed it last week.
Yeah.
Next week, I gave a little more than I wanted. But this week, it's fair. Let's do the deal. Do the deal. Make the deal. If you don't make deals and you just talk about it all day long, you never build wealth.
Yeah.
Got to make the deals. So that's another probably lesson is everybody's, you have to realize the person on the other side of the table is you. They are you, just in the other seat. So how do you want to be treated? Treat people fairly. Be honest with them. Don't play all your cards in the first hand.
Yeah.
But be honest about the cards you play. And I think that pays dividends in the long run. It's just life, right? Just being good in life, just being honest in life. And, if you have a choice, do the right thing. And you always have that choice, to be honest.
Yeah. It's good.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on here.
Sure.
This was great.
Hopefully I didn't bore you too much. I do talk a lot. I'm fired up. I want to go make a deal now.
Yeah.
It's like I'm jazzed.
I've got plenty of crack houses you can buy.
Yeah, exactly. That was great.